All right. So this is Circle V3. Welcome. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing time together. So my name is Nori Nishigaya. I will be your facilitator for the meetings. And then Peter and JP are the secretaries on the admin team, and JP, I think, will be at most of the meetings doing the secretarial note-taking stuff and helping with the agenda management. So this is the admin team. And this meeting is really before you start your official duties and stuff. We wanted to just have a quick onboarding meeting to make sure that you're aware of the expectations, the tools we use, and do all those administrative things like get you onto the Google Workspace, show you the prioritized problem board on GitHub. If you don't have it, show you how to create GitHub accounts. And Stephen's going to give us a small introduction on how all that works and how we've been using that to track prioritized problems. Any questions to kick us off?
I have a question. Amelia, I think, has answered my first question, which was around if substitutes are allowed to sit in for us if we cannot make a specific meeting. So I think that's okay.
Yeah, so one thing that we've been asking is if representatives can't make a meeting for some reason, to find a substitute from your community to come to represent in your place. And to make that easier to happen, I would recommend that you actually form some kind of a support group or have a place where you have people available who can step in for you if needed. Because life happens, and this is like 10 people trying to come to one meeting, and it can be difficult sometimes.
So I have a second question. I currently work full time, and my current days physically in the office are Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it kind of proposes a little bit of a challenge for me. I mean, I can kind of work it in if I have to. I'm just curious if any of the other circle members, the new people, have similar situations, or if this date and time works perfect for them. I don't know.
Yeah, so what we're going to do later in this meeting is I've prepared a spreadsheet where people can put in their acceptable meeting times, and we're going to try and find a time that works best for everybody if there is one. It may be difficult to find one, so we may have to compromise and come up with some solutions. But yeah, the times we meet, we have been for the Circle V1 and 2 has been this time today on a bi-weekly basis. So the circle meets every 2 weeks. But we now have Dimitri, who is calling him from Sri Lanka, and it's obscene time for him. So if we can find another time that works, that would be amazing. If not, we're going to have to find some kind of a compromise where we may have to flip between meetings or do something creative to make sure it works for everybody.
Thank you.
Any other initial questions before we kick this off?
Nori, are we going to have a round of intros, that kind of thing in this meeting?
Yeah, okay. Just so you all get to know each other. So why don't we start with that so we can get started. So Joey, you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll have Nadia go next.
Joey Chesser here. I live in the Eastern Coast in the state of New Jersey. Don't hold that against me. And I work in the center city of Philadelphia. So I'm very happy to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
All right, thank you. Nadia, and then JP.
I am Nadia. I'm just outside of Philadelphia, so that's fun.
Wow.
You're the closest person to me that I've found in Catalyst so far, so that's fantastic. Previously it was Kenrick. Yeah, I'm the CA/VCA rep, and looking forward. We got a lot of stuff going on, so looking forward to being here with all of you, and excited to collaborate with you and learn from you, and hopefully have some stuff I can share that's helpful as well.
Thanks, Nadia. JP, you want to say a little bit, and then Dimitri.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. So JP here. I'm in the capital of Canada. So the city being occupied right now, very fun. I've been with Cardano for a while, and I'm mostly here, as you know, as a CC admin team to help support you guys, to help get proposals in, to really help shift governance from IOG to the community. And so trying to support you guys in whatever way that we can throughout that process. So thanks. You'll see a lot of me, but I'll be here typing away. So thanks.
Thanks, Dimitri. Thanks, JP. Dimitri, and then Amelia.
Yeah, Dimitri Fernando here. I'm in Colombo, Sri Lanka, which is South Asia. So sorry about the fan noise, but it's unavoidable because anytime after 5 p.m., the fan goes on because we are in an enclosed room and mosquitoes and whatnot. So that's the downside of having meetings in the night, is that. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. Very glad to be part of this team. Looking forward to doing a lot since my platform was changed, equality, inclusivity, and diversity. So all those things I'm going to be quite focused on. So looking forward to it.
Thanks. Amelia, do you want to say something about yourself or Mercy?
Okay. I'm Emilia.
It's like you're coming
Mercy, I'm an executive assistant at WADA Ghana. I was a CA for Fund 6 and then CS New Fund 8. I hope it's, and I'm in the challenge team as well. So, hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Thank you.
Could you hear me, please?
Yeah, you broke up for a bit, but your statement came through eventually. So I think we heard that.
Okay, so should I type it or I should say it again?
You seem to be coming through fine now, so you might want to say it again.
Okay. I'm Emilia. I'm executive assistant at WADA Ghana. And I was a CA for Fund 6 and also CN and VCA for Fund 7. So I'm looking forward to another workaround in Fund 8. So I'm glad to be part of it all. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bullish Dumpling, do you want to go next? And then Peter.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. I thought you couldn't hear me, so I wrote a script just in case. Hi guys, I am Dumpling and located in UK. I'm a Cardano ambassador and have been educating the Chinese people about Cardano, also building a community for them. I've been hosting also Twitter spaces and conducting in-depth interviews with projects and people building on Cardano, including Frederick from Cardano Foundation. So I'm here to represent the foundation and to bridge the communications gap between the community and the Cardano Foundation. I look forward to working with you guys. And my apologies for the background noise. I'm also in the Cardano Ambassador meeting, which just happens to be happening at the exact same time. So good to see all of you.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Dumpling. Peter, and then Reese.
Yes, I'm Peter Wolcott. I'm from Tennessee in the United States, East Tennessee. I make the slides every week and help assist with there's a bunch of random little things that end up happening around this mechanism, and I'm here to help. So that's it.
All right, thanks, Peter. Reese, your turn. Do you want to say something?
Sorry, the chat was in the way there. Hi guys, I'm Reese. I run Stoic Pool. Yeah, I can represent in the stake pool operators in this group, which is really exciting. Just looking forward to getting involved, really. I had loads of fun in Fund 7 Catalyst, getting to know quite a few of you, actually, like through the chats, maybe not so much personally, but yeah, I'm just really looking forward to kind of getting stuck in and helping make a difference.
Amazing. Thanks, Reese. Harris, do you want to go next?
Yeah, great. Welcome everyone to Catalyst Circle. I'm thrilled to have everyone here. I think the elections went smoothly, and definitely happy to have everyone represented from all parts of the world. I'm with IOHK, IOG, and I originally came from the community as part of a member of Catalyst, and got to have the opportunity to join input output, and it's definitely been a thrill for me and tracking this industry, this field. We're have the opportunity to experiment for the government for Catalyst specifically, and kind of keeping that framework, I think is going to be really good. We made some big announcements in town hall yesterday about the future of Cardano governance, which is even further. But our goal is to spur innovation and help to manage getting funding to great projects across the ecosystem, and build cool things on top of Cardano. So I'm really thrilled to be working with you. Everything is experimental. We welcome all of your ideas and try to improve the process. And this is our third round kind of doing this. I definitely feel fortunate I got to be part of the version 2 of this. And I think we learned a lot, learned to work together, and I think we can make even more improvements and have a bigger impact for the community in which we serve. And so, thank you for being here, dedicating your time and your passion to help us on this mission.
So thanks, Harris. Stephen, do you want to say something?
Yeah, thanks, Nori. Hi, I'm Stephen Wickenstall of QA DAO. I've documented Catalyst Circle since its beginning in July last year, and QA DAO is also funded to oversee Catalyst Circle and does all its documentation, minutes and transcriptions through Vanessa, a colleague of mine. I was also secretary in version 1 of Catalyst Circle, and then I was elected as representative of funded proposers, or Catalyst coordinators, in version 2 of Catalyst Circle. So it's great to see everyone here, and I'm here today to give the perspective of a rep from version 2, and also to give some introduction to prioritized problems. Hopefully you can ask any questions and to give you a quick start on prioritized problems if I can. Thank you very much. Over to you, Nori. You introduce yourself now.
So I might have done this earlier, but I'm Nori Nishigaya. I'm on the admin team, facilitator for the meetings, and super excited to work with you all. Hopefully we're improving the process each time we go. We did this at our first circle meeting last time, and it took the whole meeting basically to do this and meet the mentors and all that. So we're spreading that out over a couple of meetings before you officially start, so you can hit the ground running. So hopefully we can get the training done and the onboarding and make everybody pretty comfortable with stuff, so we can make the first official meeting fairly productive based on feedback that we've gotten from Circle V1 and 2. All right, and that's probably a good segue. We do have 2 previous Circle members here, or continuing in Harris's case. So Harris and Stephen, do you want to give a brief introduction on kind of your experience as a Circle member and what you found surprising that you might want to pass along, or any expectations or things that you think people should know?
Stephen, do you want to go first?
I thought you would say that. Okay, I'll go first. Yeah. I mean, first thing I'll say is don't worry about being overwhelmed at first. And I will say, if you can attend meetings, do try and attend meetings. If you can't attend, try and build a network, if you can, of people, of contacts who can support you, who can come along in your place. My experience is that you always feel a slight bit of failure because you feel that you can never represent your communities entirely. And I think that's natural. You're not going to be able to do everything. But what you can do is work with a good team of people on initiatives that are coming down the line. And I suppose like Harris could talk to this, there's a lot of interesting initiatives coming down the line on governance, and there's lots of interesting problems, which I'll talk about later, prioritized problems on the board already that you can deal with. So, but I'm here also to answer any questions that people have at the end. Over to you, Harris.
Great, thank you. First of all, I have so much gratitude for the admin team and all the hard work that you guys have done and keeping things together. I do think that the circle could not function without your support. So thank you. And we do want to ensure that we bring incentive and payment to the staff that is working on this. And so that is something that I think as a circle we can do better. We can make improvements and make sure that people, while there's a lot of volunteers and a lot of passion to volunteer, and I certainly was in that camp of spending a lot of time with zero compensation for a while with Catalyst. But I do think that we have some good tools. We made a transition of our tools, and in the last circle, we really started to click after a few sessions together. And, that was part of the impetus to try to extend the actual time frame that we worked together. So 3 months was really just not enough. As soon as we started clicking on all cylinders, then it was like, okay, now we got to wind it down. So that's kind of why we want to spend a little bit more time working together. There was certainly a lot of urgency in the very beginning to insert proposals. And so in the very onset, to get proper funding for our team and the ideas to facilitate the circle, that has been driven by proposals so far. There isn't a specific amount set aside currently for running circle. It's all proposal driven and has to be voted in. So there has been this need to get to proposals super fast right at the onset. So having this kind of orientation is going to be really helpful. And one thing I really appreciate is like we've always kept kind of the human element and sort of checking in with each other, seeing how we're doing, right at the onset. So I do really appreciate that piece of it. And we're here listening to what's out in our communities respectively. And we want to be able to, address those real concerns, try to prioritize them, and sort of the tools that were built by the QA DAO and sort of the Git is really going to be beneficial for us to stay focused on trying to make forward progress and actually make a difference, making sure that the community knows we're hearing them, that we put it in place, and then we take steps to actually move the needle, make a difference, change the process, for the better. And so I think those are some of the learnings that I got in the Catalyst Circle V2. And our goal is to continually learn and continually improve and be better together for the community.
Thanks, Harris. That was really nice. And thanks, Stephen, for your input as well. Are there any questions from the new circle members for the V2 members at this point?
Yeah, is there an official start and end date to this role at this point? Or?
Yeah, so it has been kind of aligned to the fund cycles in general. So, as we go into the next fund, it would be sort of within the scope of this fund that we're in now, and then the next fund in general. So that's the approximate time frame, and we can get a bit more granular on the actual dates. But yeah, that's sort of the general idea. The way that Catalyst is sort of spun up is it's approximately a quarter, but it's not exactly aligned with calendar quarters. It's more of, hey, we need a week to process, these proposals. And so that's sort of dictated the time frame. In fact, even in the early days, we had a shorter time frame and we had to expand it out. So we had enough time for folks to really review proposals properly, do the assessments and all those pieces. And so it's evolved to where we are. We certainly can influence, you know, how that cycle is, the timeframes for things, the phases, and ultimately, while we have been this sort of sensing function, you know, we will be sort of changing a bit into helping to make some decisions on Catalyst specifically. But anyway, so time frame is one of those things we could potentially influence, and right now that's about quarterly, so 2 quarters.
Just to reiterate what Harris was saying, I just have to stress is that you're in control here. Okay, so you know, so there's been discussion in previous circles about timeframes like term limits, and there was a debate in the last circle about should there be 3 months terms or 6 months terms, and there was a kind of semi-consensus on 6 months, but it's quite informal. So I think there's an opportunity for Circle V3 members to go for 6 months, maybe, but this is all within your control in terms as Circle members, and that's how Circle works. You're not answering to anyone, you're working together as a Circle, so you get to define in collaboration, you get to define what you're going to do, how long you're going to be, and all that kind of thing, Javi. That's what I'd say. So Dimitri's got his hand up.
Yeah, Dimitri, you have a question.
So I'm hearing you say that the Catalyst members can make a wide array of decisions regarding how they operate and so on and so forth. But at the initial stage, there was something which I understood or misunderstood to say that Catalyst Circle members did not have decision-making powers. So what is the actual, what is the reality of that? And if we don't have decision-making powers through our discussion and coming to some consensus, can we vote to change that situation, or what exactly, where exactly do we have authority or whatever?
I can only give, sorry, Haz, I can only give my perspective on that, and that's that may came out of the messaging of Catalyst Circle, where it was originally presented as a problem-sensing organisation or collaboration. But really, in my view, I think it's always made decisions. You know, it's actually identified problems and then decided to identify those problems and then decided to move that. It's also decided to reinvent itself at certain times, to change its own rules. I'd like to hear what Harris says on that.
Yeah, Harris, you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so some of the impetus of trying to move from IOG making specific decisions into the community making decisions, we thought it would be you know, worthwhile to run a pilot within the Catalyst Circle to take specific parameters, and my hope is within Catalyst Circle V3 that we actually address specific parameters of Catalyst. And again, that might be, hey, the CAs are getting a 1% share of the Treasury to cover those proposals. And maybe if there's feedback from that community that we need to influence or make a change, you know, to get more participants, that percentage could change, and we can make some of those decisions as parameters. So it's a concept called Catalyst parameters. Right now, that has been sort of decided by IOG. We want to move that into a body that's outside of IOG, and so that's the concept. And we want to run that as a pilot in this next phase, so that we are not the only ones making decisions on this or that it's influenced by the community and the constituents that you folks are engaged with. And that's sort of our vision for how to do that. And there's some elements of needing to bootstrap certain things. While we can do a lot of deliberation and, you know, let's call for a public vote to do this and that, you know, we want to hear from the community, but our part of the objective from IOG is to hand off the reins of that decision making. And right now, Catalyst Circle is sort of part of that for Catalyst, and it will be more other circles and other councils that will be coming for Cardano as a whole as sort of that future governance vision, which we kind of unveiled yesterday as at least the initial parts of that. So a little bit of background on where we were, which was only sensing, to wanting to shift that into sensing plus decisions on a few things to many things to everything.
Joey.
So if it's
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So if it's decisions on a few things, who decides on the few things, or do we decide what are the things we can decide on, or does IOG decide on those things, or does some other entity decide on those things?
Yeah, so to be clear, I'm merely talking about Catalyst parameters, which are specific things that we set up for each fund right now. So that's kind of what I'm addressing. There's certainly lots of day-to-day things if our teams need to create subcommittees, and I know there's been a lot of that work with Nadia and Allison, I think, from the past. Who started looking at structuring things slightly differently. Like, you have full autonomy to structure things as you wish with your community. So that I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to make decisions in lots of areas. I guess what I was referring to was specifically Catalyst parameters.
That's a good clarification, Harris. And yeah, I think Stephen mentioned somewhere that it is kind of incorrect to say the Catalyst Circle has no decision making. Like, you get to decide when to meet. So we're going to do that later. You get to decide within your community how you organize and problem sense and do all that. Each circle member has done that differently, and it's completely up to you how you want to engage with your community and make decisions on how you form your sub-communities or your network to help you, and no one's going to tell you how to do that or even tell you to do that. So you have a lot of autonomy and decision making, I guess, in those areas. And just to throw it out there, Circle V3 also has been funded for this proposal, which is the Catalyst Circle funding mechanism. So you have further decision making now with $37,500 funded for each of the seats to be able to fund in a rapid funding manner. Each seat, each elected seat has $7,000 US available to fund different things within your communities. So we'll definitely be talking about how that works and how that's tracked and how we make it transparent, how that money is being spent, because the community is funding it and stuff. But please do read through this proposal and take a look, because that is something that the community has said is valuable enough to vote in. So the circle now has $7,000 for each of you to deploy in a rapid funding way. So I think that's a cool development in itself. So Joey, you have your hand up.
Yes, well, you kind of answered my question, because I've been approached by people already about a sub-circle role. And I guess the question there was, is there a stipend for those people? Is there X number of roles? Is it voluntary? Can you have unlimited roles? And so that's kind of where I was headed. You guys were discussing that a little bit.
The current circle, the 5 elected seats are being paid $1,000 each for the first 3 months of your term. Now that it's a 6-month term, during your first 3 months, we'll have to decide, do we seek funding through another proposal for the second half, or is there another program coming in where it's paid for by the Treasury itself directly? So those will be interesting conversations. But the current proposal that got funded is for 3 months, and it will pay $1,000 for those 3 months. And the Treasury team will be setting up funds. They'll be asking you for your wallet addresses and stuff, and that'll be paid out. But we haven't been paid funds beyond that. But the proposal I just linked could arguably be used to incentivize participation from the community to create subcircles or different groups. So those are all things that are completely up to you, I guess.
So currently, if you get a subcircle of folks, is a stipend available for them, or out of that 7,000, or?
There's no current stipend available, but each circle member who was elected has a $7,000 budget now to spend within their community for different things, to help develop that ecosystem or shore up things, or if there's a critical proposal or group within that ecosystem that didn't get funded, but you really need to fund it and your community agrees, that those funds are available for those kind of things. So.
Yeah, Nori, I just kind of wanted to follow up now that we have more budgets and things like that. Were we successful in finding an accounting role and filling that? Okay.
Yeah, so we now have 3 people on the Treasury team, Andre, Miroslav, and Chris, and they were funded as well for the Catalyst Circle Treasury Management. So they're creating accounting and tracking systems, and they'll be collecting payout wallet addresses, and they're controlling the funds themselves that we've received. So the $37,500 for the Catalyst Circle funding mechanism, sustaining the circle was $6,000. Admin team scope expansion was $15,000. The Treasury management team got $11,400 for the 3 of them. And the Catalyst Circle mentorship got $10,000. So the previous V1 and V2 circle members are now being incentivized to hang out and mentor the next cohort. So for V1, it'll be retroactive. For V2, it'll be for mentoring your V3 counterparts. So those are the total proposals within the circle that were funded, which is amazing that 5 separate proposals got funded by the community. All right, any other questions on that topic? Just one thing to be aware of is that we pay out after your term of service. And when we do get funded, we get funded in ADA. So that sits in a wallet, and the price of ADA may change between when you start and when you end. So that you may not get exactly $1,000 US, just as a heads up. Nadia, you have your hand up.
Sorry, just you mentioned it's $1,000 or 1,000 ADA. I'm not sure. I didn't hear it.
It's $1,000 in ADA. So we will receive it in ADA, I think, in parcels. So whatever comes in will be in ADA based on that day's exchange rates, and it will be sitting in the Treasury wallet. But we will pay it out in ADA. We'll just create, if there's like 6,000 in the wallet, 5,000 of that goes to the 5 elected seats. We'll divide 5/6 of that out to each of you at the end of your term, or at the end of 3 months, and then we'll see how the next term goes. Does that make sense, Fernando?
Yeah.
Or Dimitri?
For the moment.
Right.
Yeah, for the moment. Yeah. We'll pick this up later.
Okay. Thanks. And yeah, it is being paid out in ADA. So there's definitely different exchange rates, or the price goes up and down. Nadia, you had your hand up.
So I know that you guys are going to get into a lot of training here today and helping us get up to speed. So if this question is going to be covered, please have me table it. But I see that you're saying here, Stephen, about the training funded for the circle members and open source tools. And I guess one of the things that I'm thinking is that one of the things that I came into this role with the focus on is being able to have our group be better able to track its work, project work, collaboration, communication, archiving. So the feedback from them, the feedback from our group is that a lot of the things that we're thinking about using, a lot of our tools aren't necessarily easy onboarding for lay people. And I'm wondering if some of that training might be captured such that someone could come along and, you know, we would be able to, without sacrificing the quality of the tools we're using, be able to provide training for people who need to come up to speed on the tools themselves. Is that something that is feasible?
Yeah, I'll give you some context. I mean, Victor's just tweeted out the coming schedule for Catalyst School in the coming program with different funding streams. The funding stream I'm talking about particularly is a project which I got funded for, QA DAO got funded for in Fund 6 called Open Source Training. And it's just me really training. And I haven't been able to really train people because I've been a member of Circle for version 2 and I was too busy to train people. But now I'm going to use that fund and that resource to prioritize Catalyst Circle members, Circle admin, some challenge team aspects, and maybe some CA aspects, particularly the CA subcircle. And what I'm going to do is target, like you say, Nadia, so if I can meet with you separately, maybe about that issue, to see what your requirements are and do more tailored training in that respect. But yes, also the training I'm going to do today on prioritized problems is also funded by Catalyst School open source training proposal. And so I hope to record that and reuse that, absolutely. You know, so the idea is to train people in a kind of tailored way and then record it, as you say, producing training materials that we can reuse elsewhere. Absolutely, yeah. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Okay.
That's fantastic. I think you posted that in our group, and that's what planted the seed of the idea for me. And I'm very excited about that. And for the rest of the group as well, just having worked with Allison a bit on her group, sort of figuring this process out and seeing what you're all doing will be exciting for me as well. To really, and
obviously, there's resource issues because it's just me. So I'm going to have to, and there's other stuff going on. So, but I am going to apportion resources to this. I am funded to do this. So but it's just a question of meeting with yourself and other people to work out what that will look like. I'm quite happy to do that.
I am ready. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Joy, you have a question?
Yes, I just want to jump back to the funding. I understand about our funding, that's fine. The rapid funding, how would that work? Let's say you're going to pay someone to be in a subcircle or there's a service. Does that have to wait too, or does that come out immediately, or how does that work?
We likely won't get the full 37.5 at once. It'll be put out in parcels, the way IOG funding is working for Fund 7. And I would, encourage you guys to bring that up in a meeting to decide what are the parameters, what's acceptable for this funds to be spent. It's intended to be spent in your communities to further the goals of Catalyst. So I would definitely not be funding projects that you're affiliated with or that you're proposing that could be seen as a conflict of interest. But it should be definitely because it's going to be very transparent. We're going to make sure the community knows exactly how these funds are being spent. And I would recommend probably that they're done with some pretty heavy consultation with the community themselves and find some way of coming to consensus within your communities. What needs to be funded, where the priorities are. If it is to fund some kind of infrastructure or a subcircle or not to have more volunteer work happening that adds value, then that might be a great place to start. But yeah, we'll figure that out as a community as we move forward because it's brand new. We just got funded. Nobody quite was anticipating that it would totally be funded. So I don't think there's been a whole lot of conversation, but it might be useful to bring in the proposers themselves and see what their intent was behind that at one of our meetings coming up, just to get that context as well. Dimitri, you have a question.
Yeah, so I was just looking at what you posted on the chat, and virtually every single proposal that's revolved in the other than the circle one itself has been funded to a reasonable extent. But the circle one, as I discussed with you previously, it's pretty low considering that the job description states that we are working at least 40 hours a month. So what's the rationale behind that? And I honestly, we had heated discussions in the CA group about this. So to my expectation, it's a professional role, not a voluntary role, but some people think it's a voluntary role. And therefore the funding here shows that it is virtually a voluntary role. So my question is, A, is it a professional role or a voluntary role? B, do we have the opportunity to have a more reasonable number considering the amount of time that each of the people here is putting in to solve the community's problems? Or if not, and where we put a proposal in Fund 7 and then retroactively pay the people here and the V2 people and the V1 people, because they also did it virtually for nothing. And 3, assuming that that will happen, or it may or may not happen in Fund 7, because again, it's at the discretion of the community. Can we ask the community to, as I spoke on my platform day, to contribute some amount of ADA to discuss and take up their respective problems?
So those are all great questions. And I think those are all questions for Circle V3 to discuss and come up with answers for. Because right now, V1 was volunteer. V2 had a little bit of incentive, but it was also, like you said, it was done through passion and volunteerism, and the amounts were token just to incentivize and say thank you. And Circle V2 decided to continue that through the next extended proposal. So as Circle V3, you guys have the ability to rethink that and change that. And I'm sure Harris has some stuff there around, especially with DREPs coming up and trying to make this whole layer more of a professional class, and people being able to do it on a 40 hours a month basis or more is probably definitely a conversation thing that's going to come up.
Yeah, and certainly in our retrospective that we had for Circle V2, one of the last and first actions, I guess, that we have for V3 is to decide sort of what is for these seats, what's fair and reasonable for some compensation at a professional level. And so that is something we should discuss as one of the many things that are already on the table of items that we have to tackle. So that I think it's already in the backlog, which we'll learn more about.
Thanks, Harris.
I have one. Thank you. I have just one more question. So I'm a general ADA holder, but I was also a CA and a VCA, and I had two major concerns as a CA and VCA. Am I allowed to bring those up for discussion as well, or must I only talk about ADA holder related stuff? I'm sure Nadia would agree when I bring them up that they are points of concern, but can I bring them up or not?
That's a good question, but I think Nadia is the rep, but the part of the circle is for the different communities to talk together and share information and come up with collective understanding and maybe some solutions to that. And yeah, most people in the circle wear various hats. Like I'm sure Reese is not just an SPO, but is also involved in other parts of Catalyst. And Nadia participated with Allison and the general ADA holder. And we wear a lot of different hats. So your role is specific to your seat, but that doesn't mean you can't collaborate or talk to the other circle members and have some kind of collaborative like solutions and conversations around those things. And I would hope that that would be a normal thing that you do.
Yeah, we definitely in Circle V2 had a lot of sort of breakout meetings, and it was open for others to join and contribute and add their perspectives into those discussions as working groups to help solve some of the problems. So that is another facet, and we want to ease that ability and facilitate making sure we have those breakout meetings at the right time and things like that. But yeah, we'll be part of it. So all ideas are welcome from everyone.
Thank you. Great questions. Maybe this is a good time to segue into the prioritized problem stuff, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm just going to do a short presentation. Sorry, I only drafted this today, so but if I can share screen, let's see. Here we go. From the beginning. on a second. Display. Everyone tell me when there's a single slide. Is there a single slide? Can you see that?
We can see the slide. It's not full screen, but we can see it. There we go.
change
Presenter mode.
There you go.
Yeah, it's changed over now. Yeah.
Yep, good to go.
Okay, let's get a delay. Okay, prioritized problems. Catalyst. What are prioritized problems? Prioritized problems are the most critical, urgent, relevant, or constructive issues that affect each community. So problems that each circle representative has identified as important in their community, or problems that circle as a whole has identified as important to Catalyst in general. Okay, so where did prioritized problems come from? Okay, in July 2021, facilitated by Governance Alive, the first meeting of Catalyst V1 decided to share a list of problems with your group, to rank the problems, focusing on 2 top statements, 3, share feedback with each other and look for problem statements to solve with each other. And Circle V1 members joined together to try and solve together their problems. And then finally, 4, place problems in an accessible backlog tool, which at that time was Trello. Okay, so what are the criteria for prioritized problems? And this goes back again to Governance Alive, who designed this, and they designed a problem statement rubric, what they called, which is: what problem do you see? What problem, why is solving this problem important to the mission of Project Catalyst? Can you articulate the gap between the current state and the expected or envisioned state? And how might the value of solving this problem be quantified or measured? And that's an optional one, but that's still an issue in terms of how we progress problems going forward. Okay, so what can be done with prioritized problems? Each prioritized problem is assigned to 1 or more Catalyst Circle representatives. So a Catalyst Circle representative inherits the problems raised by previous circles. And a Catalyst Circle representative decides in liaison with their community how to address problems and whether to present new problems to Circle. So Catalyst Circle itself decides the status of each problem in its meetings and assesses how a problem has progressed through the prioritized problems process. And Catalyst Circle also can decide whether to revise the process itself. So you can revise everything essentially, but obviously you have to do that collaboratively as Circle members. Okay, the prioritized problem process is, I just quickly listed it here. It starts with a problem backlog, where the problem, so if you have a problem that you've raised, that goes into a problem backlog initially, or that's also where problems that are delayed for some reason also live. Then there's a raw problems, which is researching the problem, trying to identify what to do about it, which goes on to well-defined problems, which are ready. That means you've done your research on your problem, you have an idea of where you're going to go with your problem, and you're ready to go to 4, which is to share the problem with the community. And the community, those in brackets, is input. The idea there is that you're going to get community input on any problems that you've raised and you've done research for. After you've got the input from the community, the problem is into a picked up stage, which is ready. So you have the community input, you've defined what you're going to do with your problem, you have a way to solve that. And then you go into something called a prototyping stage, where you're trying to execute the solution to your problem. And so it's in progress. In order to check that the problem is in progress, you need to validate that with, depending on the nature of the problem. If it's a technical problem, for example, a change to CA rewards or something, you might need some technical validation, which is reporting, or the validation could come from the community as well. Finally, the problem is beginning to be resolved, and that's called integration. So it's integrated, it's accepted as resolving the issue that the problems was raised for in the first place, and then it's closed off. So it's either rejected in terms of that's a kind of failure. So what you tried to do didn't work, so it's cancelled. That's a possibility. Or you do a reset to site, which basically closes the issue and signs that off. So sorry to overwhelm you on that, but that's the process that was originally designed with Circle and Governance Alive in version 1. And as an example, I've taken here community advisors rep prioritized problems. So in the problem backlog, there is a problem called method for selecting technical counsel. That's a new problem that was raised by Kenrick, and it hasn't, so it's just in the problem backlog. There's another one called improved challenge continuity, which is now in the researching stage. There's one that's been picked up ready, which is a reputation merit system, and that dates back to Catalyst Circle V1, where Victor worked with IOG on revising the reward system for CAs. And that's kind of that's in prototyping in progress, where a rewarding system was actually, so Victor and Dor and others worked on the rewarding system with IOG in Circle V1. It went through this process. It was prototyped. It's now in progress. There's now a revised rewarding system being used by CAs, and now that's where it is in that kind of progress. Okay, recent changes to the prioritized problems process. So recently, I would say recently, in the past 4 months, 3 or 4 months, there was the prioritized problems board, which I'll show you in a minute, was migrated from a Trello board to a GitHub project board, and that was partly for accessibility for the community. This allows anyone in the community to comment on any prioritized problem, and for any Circle data to be open source. And then another thing that happened since January, because there was an impetus, because it became open source, for the community to raise their own issues. So any member of the community can now raise what's called a community issue on the Circle project board, but a community issue is not a prioritized problem. It's at the discretion of Circle to review and assess those issues if you want to, or how you want to deal with that is up to Circle version 3. So that's it. If you have any immediate questions on that, I can share slides for that as well.
Thank you, Stephen. Joey, you have a question.
Just a quick question. Are the solutions tied to the voting cycle, or can we have solutions that move a lot faster than the voting cycle?
No, the solutions are, again, each stage you decide yourself between Circle members. So I'll do a screen share of the project board in a minute, because what will happen is Nori will share a project board with the problems on the board, and that will show where the problem, what stage the problem is at. Okay, and then at the meetings that you have at Circle meetings, you decide between all of you whether a problem, what's the status of that problem. Yeah. So for example, if you came up with a problem, Joey, and you said, okay, I've done my research on this problem, okay, it's now ready to go to the community, for example, or I have taken it to the community, and then it's then up to the other Circle members to say, well, I agree with you, etc. And then you move it across the board based on consensus. To date, there hasn't been any formal voting at meetings. It's basically, Nori, would you say it's based on a kind of loose consensus, would you say?
Yeah, pretty loose consensus. We may talk about that as Circle V3 on how to tighten that up. I think there was at least one instance where we failed to actually come to a decision where there probably should have been one.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, Joe. You're on mute, I think. Okay. I mean, I can do a quick screen share of the board. Should I do that now, Laurie? Or
Sure, that would be good, just to introduce people to what it looks like.
Okay, so this is what it will look like at a meeting on GitHub. So you have a kind of here's the process that I described in the slide: the problem backlog, raw problems, well-defined problems, and so on. And here's examples of issues that will go across the board like that. So here is a list of problems assigned to different people or different groups in Circle. Some problems, like this problem here, for example, how to nurture a listening culture in Catalyst, is assigned to all Circle members, whereas others, like this one here, Catalyst parameters, the initial pilot, is just assigned to one representative. In this case, it's IOG. You know, so but let's take that one. If that progressed to researching, you would take that across here to researching. I'll pull that back where it belongs, but you would have to decide that together at a Circle meeting. So the way it would work is that usually you have introductions at the meeting, and then one of the first things you do is go to the board, and then Norrie will take you round each member to say, I mean, you can filter each one, like, here's all the community advisor problems, for example. So you start with, like you, Nadia, maybe, and just say, go through the problems that you have on the board. Yeah. And we'll say, and then it'll be over to you. I'm just giving you as an example, Nadia. Yeah, it would be over to you to say, well, this is what's happening with these problems. Okay. And this is where we are, and this is what I think we should do. You know, it goes all the way across here to things that are quite complete here. So that's what we'll be doing at the meeting. Also, I stress that you can change the process as well. So, Nadia.
Shoot, you got so fast. I hadn't formulated how I want to answer the question.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean,
I guess the question is, so for our group meeting here, and I defer to the other groups as well. Maybe some of you are managing this differently. When we get into our after town halls and we talk, we generally have like an open discussion. We don't come to a set of problems like that. Are any of the groups, from my perspective, I've been thinking of, like, if a new person comes in, a new CA, I got a couple new CAs who came in and were like, oh, we're going to be CAs, and what should we know, and what should we do, and what's happening in this group. So to be able to send them to a place like that where they can at least visualize, and maybe need to learn GitHub a little, but can visualize it, and they can see things in the pattern that they are sort of the flow of information, seems really fantastic for new people. So at least they could get caught up to speed. What is your recommendation for, in our group particularly, we have the iterative Dropbox, right? We have a long Excel list of all kinds of different things that are being worked on at different levels, and different groups with overlap of things they're trying to solve, et cetera. And I think that's appropriate and great for the environment.
I mean, if I could take that offline, this meeting, because it's slightly off topic, but yes, I'm happy to talk to you about that, Nadia. All I would say is, there's appropriate solutions for different circumstances. Okay.
I guess my question here is, when I come and we get those problems out and we look at them, that's a lot to funnel into there, which is fine. But here's my question: should our groups be coming to those places as like the hub of discussion and thinking about it, and contribute there rather than having other places? Do you think that also works for the group, or is it more a tool for the circle?
Well, historically, different stakeholders, by stakeholders, I mean different representatives, have managed it in different ways. Okay, so for example, the CA group used to be quite tightly knit, so quite a small group. It's expanded out quite a lot. So there's now more of a need to maybe manage that as a kind of a sub-circle. I recognize that. Felix in Toolmakers Maintainers in version 1 did a lot of outreach to the community, and he used a lot of meetings where he would get long meetings where he would go to the community, do workshops with them, identify problems, and then take that back. But then in version 2, you have Alison doing her weekly town halls. You know, so you've got different approaches from different people, and I don't want to be. Yes, there are solutions I can suggest, okay, and help with, and that's why I got the open source training. But again, like Raymond with the Stake Pool Network, I'm not going to be prescriptive here. It's going to be up to each of you to decide how you want to organize your communities, okay? But the caveat is, when you come to Circle, this is what you're using as and I use this as a decision-making process. Yes, you make decisions because you're moving problems across the board. Why is that there? It's focus, okay, and also it's accountability. It's getting things done. And what we found in previous circles is where there's been delays of going onto the board, there's been delays in getting things done. So, and I will say, I'll get back to you, JP, in a minute, but I will say that this was designed by Governance Alive in version 1. So there was a proposal, I think Dor worked with Victor in version 1 to propose changes to the process. So the process can be changed, okay? But again, that's between all Circle members and to decide what that would look like. JP.
Yeah, so I was just going to, sorry, in response to your question, Nadia, I think a good way maybe to reframe it is that you would be coming to the Circle meetings. These have been identified. Then in the after town halls, you could easily take one or a couple of these problems and say, here's what's on the board as your Circle rep. We need community input. You gain that, and then you come back to the Circle and say, okay, this is what we found, this is what we heard. And then it's that iterative process. It's not necessarily bringing all the CAs to you. It's you taking the information to the CAs, conversing with them in that community, what it looks like, and then relaying that back to the Circle to move it down the board. So just a different reframe on that information flow.
That's very helpful. Thank you. And sorry if I asked an off-topic question. I wasn't trying to.
Oh, no, it is related because it's kind of related to supporting you as a Circle rep. And I'm funded to do that, and I'm quite happy to do that and to support the emerging CA subcircle, you know, because that will help you bring your problems to Circle, you know, and a way to contextualize it, you know. So, I mean, it's also a way of where to direct people for your accountability. So whatever problems you want to raise, you can point people in that direction. So you can say, this is what I own, or this is what I'm working with other Circle members. Is there any other questions I can ask them or answer?
Nope. Okay, let's move on to a few other things then. Thank you, Stephen. That was a really great overview, and we'll have some administrative homework for you all soon to set up different accounts and send us your emails and select some meeting times. We won't do that in this meeting because there's no need to do that synchronously, but there are a few things that I would like to go over, and since Peter's here as well, Peter, do you want to at some point take them through the town hall slide procedure and expectations around that? And I can give you some time and do my thing first if you want to get stuff ready.
Yeah, give me a couple of minutes.
Okay. So let's jump into meetings themselves. The Catalyst Circle meets every 2 weeks, at a to be decided time. Let me share my screen just to walk you through that. I'm really horrible at sharing screens, as you know from Town Hall. Let me make sure I find the right one.
It's always a challenge. I don't know
Yeah.
why. It just seems to be one of those things that's always a headache.
Especially in Zoom. It's like, what am I looking at?
And when there's people waiting for you, that's the worst time.
Yeah. Is that one good? No? Yes. Catalyst Circle meeting agenda. So this is a template that the admin team copies every week or every 2 weeks for the meeting. We will update the attendance with the current circle members. And basically we do take attendance because it is expected that you attend each meeting or have somebody representing you that you're sending as a substitute. And what we usually have is we have an opening section where it's we do a welcome and check-in. So we just do a quick go around, and it's not meant to update everybody on what's been going on. It's really to check in with where you are physically, emotionally, mentally, just to have a check-in to say, I'm doing great, or today I'm a little bit stressed, so sorry if I'm going to be a little tense. Just whatever it is, whatever state you're in, it's a good time to check in and just have that human connection with each other. And we'll do that really quick. And then if there are any short announcements that we want to announce to the group, there's also a space for that. We don't use that all that often. And then there's a section here to revise the agenda and align expectations. So what that means is there's this consent agenda. And in here, we will send the agenda out ahead of time, usually at least a week. So and this agenda is yours. So it is expected that if you have something you want to discuss with the circle, you add your agenda item here. So basically, we'll have an example here, but say we start at 9 a.m. So you put in the time you want to start, about CA incentives, and then you'd put your name and then how much time you want, like 15 minutes. And as facilitator, I'll try to keep the conversation within the time allotted there, because we usually cut them off at the length of the meeting because we only have 90 minutes. So that's all you need to do. And then there's an agenda item in there. And then during the first part of the meeting, we'll revise the agenda. We can rearrange things at that point to say if we have a more pressing topic and talk about it first. We'll do that at that point. And then we do a circle stand-up, which basically, as Stephen mentioned, we'll go through the GitHub board, and then I'll call up each seat. Your cards that your name is on will come up, and then you can talk about 3 things. And it's meant to be really fast. It's not a time for discussions or conversations. These persons would do it in about a minute or 2. But it's basically based on the cards. What did you work on since the last meeting? What are you planning to work on before the next meeting? So what are you going to work on next? And then most important is number 3, is anything blocking you that the group can help with? And you can say, I need X, and then somebody else can say, I'm happy to help with that, or I know somebody that can unblock that. So it's really those 3 things really quick. And then we'll move through the board and just check in where everybody's at, what they did last week, what they're going to do in the upcoming weeks, and if you have any blockers. And then at the end of the meeting, there's a little bit of time to fill out the feedback form. There's a feedback form for every meeting. We like, as the admin team, to get feedback on how that meeting went, how it can be improved. We like to keep this as a learning organization, so that feedback is really important for us to fine tune and adjust things as we go. And then we have this last minute buffer. It's really just a checkout. So similar to the check-in at the beginning, a checkout is where you're at, how you're feeling, and just do a little connection at the end to close things off. And then the feedback form itself is pretty simple. How productive was the meeting? what is something that went well today in the meeting, how the meeting was run, something that could be improved, and then any other comments you want to have about the circle. So it's not meant to be onerous or heavy duty, just kind of a quick check-in so that we can continuously evolve as an organization. So that's the basic meeting stuff. Any questions on that? Pretty straightforward. Okay, awesome. Peter, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, every week in town hall, you guys have an opportunity to create a slide to update the community on what you're working on currently, or what what you're working on currently, what you're trying to coordinate, telling people, just giving people an update that you're out there working, and this is your opportunity to talk to the community in a more formal way, because all those slides get pushed out in all the Telegram channels and whatnot that IOG does, thanks to Danny. So on Monday of every week, through Slack, will reach out to you guys and ask for, I will put a template of a deck together, and you guys can then go and create a slide that updates the community according to what you're doing, and you can put whatever you want in there. I'm not gonna edit it for you. I might do some formatting things if it gets really weird, but you're gonna be able to see in the deck, how it flows and whatnot. And then on Wednesday, yeah, I do a final pass through of the slides and make sure everything looks good, and then send it off to Danny so it goes in the town hall. And if you have any questions about that or would like help, let me know. Once you get into Slack and everything and you guys hitting the ground running really fast. So good luck to you, honestly. There's a lot. I've been sitting in this meeting being like, wow, you guys have a lot on your plate to get up to speed and get running. Good luck.
Thanks, Peter. Any questions about the town hall slides? As Peter said, it's a really awesome platform for you all to get in front of the community. And if you want to have FaceTime and be seen, because I think it's important that the circle members themselves are regularly communicating what's going on and raise the profile of the circle. A lot of the stuff we do here is recorded and that's shared, but not a lot of people peek in and sit there for 90 minutes to watch the whole meeting or read through the transcript. So it's a really great way to summarize what you're doing and just get in front of the community once a week when you can.
Yeah, one of the considerations that we might make is possibly moving our regular meetings to before town hall. Because right now we're meeting on Thursday, so most of the coordination was happening through Slack, and often coming together last minute for some things. Some things are well planned, but it would be great to align on messaging or key things that we want to say in town hall at some point. So that might be a breakout meeting or a moving the regular schedule meeting before town hall, because it's a great platform for us for sure.
Thanks, Eris. Yeah, I agree. So that's a great segue. But before we segue, I just wanted to mention that, as Peter said, there's a lot here, and he said good luck in kind of a scary way, but you do have the admin team here. So we are very willing to help support, answer questions, and help you through any rough spots or any areas where you're unsure. So the three of us here, as well as Nadim and the Treasury team, are always there to help. And so, yeah, definitely use this as a resource. Next is probably a good time to share the spreadsheet. So here's a link to a rather detailed spreadsheet. And let me actually share my screen so I can walk through it really quickly.
I feel it's
Very late. It's another meeting, but we'll just listen.
Okay. I'm going to move slowly because when I just start clicking, different screens pop up. Where's the spreadsheet? Hey, Felix. Okay, so this is the CCv3 meeting time finder. I was going to do a doodle poll, but since we are an international community, I didn't want to create this whole thing in Doodle, and this will make it visually apparent which rows will accommodate the most people. I have a fear that there won't be a single time that'll work for everybody. So we're going to have to maybe do this in passes and see if people can make concessions, meet at a point that's not ideal, but still doable. So we'll work on this over the next week and maybe be able to land on a good meeting time by the time we get to the mentorship onboarding that's happening on Tuesday. So each one of these has a day: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and all the hours in UTC time. So please put a check mark on those hours where you are free to meet for 90 minutes. And we'll see if there are any areas that we actually have a really good cluster of people, and hopefully everybody. And just at the very top, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Nori, are these meetings are 120 minutes, right? And then it's our meetings that are 90 minutes, just to confirm for everybody. These meetings,
the circle meetings have been 90 minutes traditionally, as far as I know.
I thought it was 2 hours.
Yeah, it's 2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry, it's for 2 hours. So pick times where you're available 90. For 2 hours. Yeah, okay, thanks for that clarification. So many different meetings.
And I do like the idea of having one constant sort of time frame, but we also might consider different time zones, maybe alternating the time. It's harder to peg us down to that, but I'm certainly open to an odd time for myself to accommodate others if needed.
Yeah, and if we flip back and forth, then it's at worst horrible for some people once a month. And then the other one will work. So hopefully we can find 1 or 2 times that work. Yeah, so we'll definitely try to align on something, and we can work on our Slack channel to narrow in on a time that'll work, using this as our guide. So please do, you don't have to do it now, but please do go through and start to put in stuff and days that work for you. The other thing that we're going to do, let me just run through the thing. So homework for the new Circle v3, you're going to need to create a GitHub account and share the Git alias with the admin team. We need an email address you would like for internal communications, meeting invites, etc. if the ones that we sent out for this meeting aren't ideal. I know people have different email addresses for different purposes. And then any social media or other places Circle members can reach out or connect. It'd be nice to have everybody, like if you all have Twitter accounts, to follow each other and connect in that way too. So at the top here, we have a space for each person to put their email address. So that'll be the primary email address where we'll sign you up for Slack. We will send out meeting invites and other things when we need it. If you have GitHub, Telegram, Discord, Twitter, please put them in. GitHub is mandatory. That's where we do our work. So you'll at minimum need that and your email address. So the top 2, email and GitHub, are the mandatory ones. And if you have any of the other ones, that would be super helpful to have as well. So the homework is to fill these out, get yourself a GitHub account, and find the meeting times that work for you. And then we'll see over the next week if we can find and align on a time that is going to work for everybody. Any questions on that? All right. And as mentioned a few times, and maybe if you want, put your email address in now so we can do it sooner than later. But we have a Slack space where we do all of our communications as Circle and Circle admin team. And Circle V1 and V2 are also there. So you'll be joining that community. It's going to grow bigger and bigger over time. But it's the place where we do our primary work, where we chat back and forth, we share documents, and it's how we organize. We decided not to do it on Discord. We're doing it on Slack. It's a little more of a business kind of a tone to it, which kind of fits the purpose of the whole governance space too. So yeah, if you need any help, Slack's pretty straightforward. And I don't know if anyone's had much trouble using it, but if you do, please let the admin team know, and we're happy to help and answer questions and help you out. So any questions on that? Okay. So I'll open it up now to the admin team. Is there anything else we missed that we might want to include on the onboarding?
I'll just say that you'll see me typing madly in the background, trying to capture what people said. I put it in the chat as well, but our friends at QA DAO also take this recording and transcribe it exactly verbatim. And then that's shared as part of all of the Circle documents. But if ever you have a question or you don't want to go through the whole transcript, you can always check the meeting notes that will be attached to the meeting agenda through GitHub from here on going on. So it's easy access for you as well.
Thanks, JP.
Yeah. One other thing I was going to add, in the retrospective, we also mentioned we do want to have the V2 members align maybe in advance of the first meeting. Is that already scheduled for Tuesday? Is that?
Yeah, that's the purpose of the Tuesday meeting.
Okay.
And we'll probably even do breakouts with each of the pairings so that you can have some time face-to-face with your counterpart from V2 and V3 to answer questions and help mentor, kick that off.
And even V1 will join as well.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's amazing. Yeah.
But also I'd recommend that if not already, I'm sure you have, contact your predecessor in V2 and V1, or they will contact you as well. Reach out to them. I'm sure they'll support you. I'm already in contact with Mercy for my meeting on Saturday. So develop these relationships. The veterans are here to help you as well.
Yeah.
And is there a resource or a directory of names and contacts for that?
Yeah, maybe there should be, Karis. It's a good point. Should we do that in Slack or something? What do you think, Nori?
Yeah, we can put it together in Slack. Everybody should be in Slack. So if we just have a space where we share who was what, it'd be a good way to connect. And I love there's two axes of connections happening. There's your Circle cohort here. You're going to get to know each other really well. And I think that's great to have that network within the community with you all. But you also have your V1, V2 mentors as well. So that's another deeper connection in a very specific area too. So I think it's evolving into a really great organizational structure where we all work together, get to know people, and expand our own networks in that way. All right. One other thing that I should mention, going forward after this meeting, the admin team will set up Google Workspace accounts for you. Each seat does have a SPOs at catalystcircle.io, community advisors at catalystcircle.io, etc. So the current Circle members or the V2 have those set up, but we're going to be transitioning those to you all. So based on the email address you send or put into this sheet, we will send you an invite to that space. And then you should probably reset the password as your first thing and take control of that account. And so you can just start to publicize that as a contact place for the community to get a hold of you. And that way there's also, you can go through the previous emails, you can see all the emails that came into your predecessors. And it's one way we have continuity of communication for the seat, is to have a role-based email rather than a personal one. And then based on what we come up with over the next week, we'll try to find a good meeting time and set up recurring meetings for that. And then once you create and let us know your Git handle, we will invite you to the Prioritized Problems Git organization. We will also send out invites to the Catalyst Circle Slack server. And then we will grant access to the Google Drive where we keep meeting agendas, minutes, and other things. So those things are coming up too. Harris, your hand's up.
Yeah, I think through the course of V2, we ended up setting up a website for catalystcircle.io. And I don't know who is actually managing that, but it also may be an additional tool for our members to utilize or post information or contact information as an outreach piece, in addition to the QA DAO.
Yes. And we do have a website. Stephen has set it up. I've been helping a little bit, and it is available. It's on GitHub, and it's currently very underutilized. There's just some very basic information, but I do agree. It could be a place where we enable blogging or other functional things that you want to use it for.
Yeah, we'll try and prioritize putting basic information on there, Harris. It's just kind of dropped down the list of priorities a little bit because we haven't had time to do it, I'm afraid. So yeah. So we will get round to it.
Could be another vehicle. It's just catalystcircle.io. I just put the link there for folks.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And if anybody on V3 has webmaster skills, please let us know. And we'd have happy to have you participate. Nadia, your hand is up.
So there's this one that you just posted, Harris, and is the one that you're referring to that you and Stephen have been developing, Nori, that same website, or is there a different one? In GitHub, there's the website.
It's the same website.
Okay. And that would be feasibly for outward facing to the community, like if people needed to find us or we needed to share information and things there?
Yep.
That's Catalyst Circle's own website. So it's owned by you, really, but it's going to be managed by Circle Admin at the moment. And again, as I said to Harris, it's a resource issue. We haven't really got round to doing it. But what we're trying to do, we're trying to prioritize it as a kind of brochure, like marketing. So to have all the profiles on there, because obviously that's quite a quick win. The other place where you see posted a lot is a QA DAO project, which is oversight of Catalyst Circle, which is a Git book, which is funded to transcribe all the meetings and track everything. And that's something else.
Felix, you have something to add?
To the missing resources, I don't know if you gave the introduction already, but we got one of the proposals funded for the Catalyst Circle version 3 as well, which enabled $7,000 for each of the represented seats from the community. And those resources are definitely set up for exactly this purposes. If you need something fast, get done, but you don't have the resources, you have the resources.
Okay. That's actually a good point. We talked about that earlier, Felix. Maybe you can give some context, since you were one of the authors of that proposal, on the intent and how it was intended to be used.
Main intent is really to say what we saw already in Catalyst Circle version 1, the success of the Catalyst Circle itself is crucial by community engagement. And it's kind of sad if we don't have any resources to incentivize or reward the community for high contribution and engagement. Main goal here is to say each representative has their own budget, their own treasury, on which you can have a direct access to. And there's also a little bit more behind to also see, okay, how can the Catalyst Circle itself create accessibility to a treasury and coordinate those treasuries to crucial initiatives which might not fit in the current Catalyst process, where you can't wait 3 months until submitting a proposal and waiting that it hopefully get voted and funded. It's an experiment. You are the first ones who have this budget available. So very curious to see what happens, but use it.
Beautiful. Thanks, Felix. Any other questions?
Just a quick note, so that was approved for this fund, which can potentially be used within the 3 months, and we could create proposals for the next fund as well to increase that. So if we're finding value in that, we should consider proposals, things that we need to run the circle, as well as things that are issues that need to be addressed outside of the circle and should be proposals. Please can start considering that. Since that will be coming up pretty soon within the start of this fund. So,
yeah, that's a good point. Circles get inducted and then immediately have to write proposals for their position. So it's kind of stressful and you don't have a lot of context yet. So I'm super happy that the mentorship proposal got funded. So you can work with your V2 and V1 counterparts as well to make sure that you have some kind of conversation going and they can give you a kickstart or help you out if you totally don't have any idea where to start on that stuff. But yeah, writing proposals will probably be a very big part of your first few weeks or first few meetings anyway.
And to this point, as it is a funded proposal, which includes CCv1 and V2, CCv3 members hold the CCv2 and V1 members accountable. They are proposed for this, they have to deliver. If they don't show engagement, boost the shit out of them. They have to be there for you, right?
There's a fund for mentorship of there's a fund for mentorship as well, isn't there, Felix? So because I was going to say on that, if again, because it's time, I could help for one with drafting proposals within reason, because it's very time consuming drafting a proposal. But if that was funded a little bit, that would help as well. But so again, depending on the proposal and what it is, I could help draft with that with you as well.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Joey, your hand is up.
Yeah, since each one of these roles has access to those funds, the $7,000, things like the website, which impacts the entire circle, there may be opportunities that all of us could share a little bit into that cost. And rather than spend everything in our circle, we could spread it across to the benefit of everybody.
Yeah, if we want to incentivize somebody from the community to create copy or create images or do things, you definitely can all pull together and say, well, put $1,000 towards that or something. Any other general questions? We now have 3 previous circle members in the meeting. So if you have questions for them, it's a good time to do that as well.
But don't tell me you don't have questions, because I know from CCv1 and V2, you are now in the situation where you have absolutely no clue what to do. You have absolutely no clue what to expect. This is a common experience. Don't hold back and be shy and say, no, everything is clear. Stop kidding. Nothing is clear, right? So it's a fact and it's nice and it's well. And you are here to figure out, right?
Yeah, Nadia, your hand is up.
I feel like I'm like taking all the questions inventory here, but I would like to really just get a sense of how each of you sort of manage the flow of building relationships with the people in your community, and how did you sort out how did you let things rise to the top, that were important? How did you keep from being tagged and dragged into lots of the different conversations or being used as like the answer of all questions and things like that? Like, how did you prevent yourself from slipping into doing a role that wasn't actually this role? And what are some of the things you found were most successful for you as far as stuff you set up to support yourself?
Felix.
What I made in Catalyst Circle version 1 already, for me, it was very early. I was we all have been aware, hey, shit, when we want to make decisions and you have a representative seat, you won't handle this alone. What I did in the very first Catalyst circle, I simply reached out to some community members with which I worked very close already. Nori was one of them, Jonathan Edge and Mercy. And always I got feedback from them. They supported me a lot. So make sure to build already your own small, I don't want to call it a sub-circle, but hey, you have great relations to great engaged community members. Make them a part of your actions as well, right? Share your responsibility as well a little bit with those folks. And have your own team which is able to support you in this regard. Also, you have funds now. Start to experiment with it. Catalyst circle itself, it's like a micro blueprint of Catalyst at general. So
that's a good point, Felix. And I would definitely say reach out to the other nominees that didn't get elected, because you have a whole group of people that raised their hand that wanted to participate. So what a great group to draw upon. Nadia, your hand is up. Oh, it's still up. Stephen or Harris, do you want to add to the question from Nadia?
Amelia's got her hand up.
I was just going to let you guys speak if you have anything to contribute to the Nadia's question on.
Oh, yeah. I can only reiterate what Felix says. It's really critical that you build a network, essentially, and you collaborate with other people. I do think you probably have to be clear, Nadia, that you're not going to be the solution to everyone's problems, okay? And I would say that up front, okay? You simply aren't. And you might need to filter that a little bit. So, and it can be a bit stressful sometimes, particularly if people have high expectations. This depends on what you're representing. Maybe funded proposers or Catalyst coordinator, and maybe CAs are more, or toolmakers are more vulnerable to this because there's a bigger community where lots of people have lots of questions and lots of ideas about doing things very differently, which contradict each other. You know, and so you're gonna, if you can, build a team as well, like allies, veterans, we're now veterans as well, fall back on that. And try and filter that a little bit, but also be fair, you know, don't reject things out of hand. Everyone has their own point of view, whatever you think of it. That person is telling you their point of view because they're invested in that. So try and represent that if you can. But there again, it's reasonable to push back as well with your own arguments, I would say, or your own constructive suggestions as well.
Yes, certainly there's a few vehicles that can be really helpful. You know, certainly the social media channels and Telegram and other things can be valuable for listening. And certainly what we learned in V2 is we need to listen as a sensor array and hear what's coming in. Do some prioritization and filtering of that. After town halls can certainly be a great opportunity to engage community. So work closely with the teams to set up those regular sessions where you can just have a regular session, you can bring in more people, expand the discussion into folks that are already actively participating, bring that into additional breakouts if needed. And we certainly can work, IoT can work to support some of those side discussions, which have been really fruitful, where we're having real working meetings, listening, having Miro boards out, trying to find solutions and actually see what we can bring to the table as an offering for particular problems. So we certainly can help with that as well. So yeah, just, reaching out within Slack, I think is really great to, pull in the perspectives of the circle, which has broader reach into the various, past V1 and V2 folks, as well as an initial resource. But yeah, just kind of stepping out there, maybe setting up your own planned meetings, office hours, those kinds of things can be helpful.
All right, thank you. Amelia, you had your hand up. Do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I want to ask if this governing is this the governing council in the form of like board of directors? I mean, I want to understand it.
Are you
It's more
talking
like
about the Catalyst Circle itself?
This team of
Catalyst
yeah,
Circle.
this particular team, is it under the main Catalyst Circle, or what is the actual role of this particular circle?
The best way I could describe it, Amelia, is I'm not sure. It's like a cooperative in a sense. So again, it's how it's defined as a circle for that reason. It's non-hierarchical. Yeah. So no one person in the circle is a leader. Everyone in the circle represents their own communities. So they all come together in circle. They do have decision-making powers that is changing over time. There's a relation between Circle and IOG, and to a certain extent, Cardano Foundation as well. But Circle, it was originally intended to sense problems in the community. That has now evolved into more decision making in relation to those problems that were sensed. Using the example of a board of directors, it could be seen that way in the sense that it is a decision making body, but again, it's not like a board of directors because the authority is not that formal, it's more informal. Does that help?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's good. I get it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Any other general questions? Dumpling, we haven't heard from you much. Do you have any questions about the circle?
Yeah, so much to chew on, and I'm really still a bit confused. I don't know what I don't know. My plan was to actually talk to Matthias Zieber because he was my predecessor. I would like to ask him how his week-to-week work looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great idea.
I think I have a more or less special case. I don't really have a community behind me. I have the Cardano Foundation. So building that relationship would be probably a little bit different from many of you guys here. But luckily, I think I have Felix. He's got my back. He's always there, and can ask him. Shout out, Felix. And thanks, guys, for the presentation. It was really helpful.
Although I would say, Boris Dumpling, there is another aspect to Circle, is that although you do represent a community, and I know your special case with Cardano Foundation, there's also the opportunity to work on things in Circle, like, for example, like Harris's proposals on governance changes require liaison and assistance with that. And that's not necessarily related to representing a community, but more to get involved in the governance process and to comment on that, and also to comment together with Circle and other Circle members. So there's always an opportunity to get involved in that respect.
100%. Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen. Joey, you have a question?
Not a question. I just wanted to say that the famous architect and part-time philosopher, Minister Fuller, he said there are no failed experiments, just unexpected outcomes. So it's going to be interesting to see where the outcome leads.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. It feels like we're starting to wind down with the questions. I think we've gotten through the bulk of our presentations. We do have some follow-up stuff. Please do go through the spreadsheet and indicate your preferred meeting times, and we'll iterate on that and try to come to a decision. We'll send out Slack invites here probably in the next 24 hours. So please do make sure that at least your email address is on the spreadsheet so we know who to send the invites to. All right. Any last questions, comments?
Is there anything that we want to bring into the town hall next week as Circle V3?
You all will have slides.
Okay, so that'll be our first piece that we can contribute is consider what you would want to say on your slide or a few slides, hopefully, to represent your position, and you'll have an opportunity to have a voice at town hall.
Yeah, absolutely. Bullish Dumpling, your hand's up.
So I wanted to clarify the town hall slides. Does that mean that for the next town hall, next Wednesday, we're going to be presenting our representation here, but to all the listeners in the town hall, is that correct? And we need to fill in that slide as well?
Yes, you will have a slide. Not every circle member used the slide every town hall. So if you have something you want to communicate, it's a vehicle and we encourage you to definitely do it. But if you have nothing to communicate or nothing going on, then there's nothing wrong with not having a slide either. Although for next town hall, it might be really great just to have something to introduce yourself and just get the community to know that you're there.
Great. Do you mind if I do a callback of actionable items before we leave, just so we're all more clarified?
Sure.
Right. So we're going to create GitHub accounts because I suppose we're going to be working on that quite a lot in terms of proposed improvements and changes. We're going to have email addresses ready to be shared with you because that's what we're going to use also to communicate with the community. We're going to fill out our availabilities for our meetings. We're going to also prepare for town hall on a weekly basis, even though our meetings are bi-weekly basis. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's a really good summary.
Great, thank you.
All right. So we have 12 minutes left. I don't want to keep us till the end, but just to get you used to it, we'll do a checkout round just to see where everybody is, and then we'll end the meeting. Do you want to actually start, Bullish Dumpling, and then we'll go to Nadia?
What's required in checking out? Do I need to hand in my passport or something?
Nope, it's just checking into where you are, how you feeling, your general state of being, anything you want to share with the group.
Feeling well, thanks. Really need to go to the loo, but I will hold on to it.
Your privacy is secret, Bullish, don't worry.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Nadia, and then JP.
I'm feeling a lot better than I was this morning when I woke up thinking, so that feels really good. And it feels nice to just have a sense of context from all of you and to have your wisdom. And it's nice to like have tools to put a plan together. And so I feel a lot more clarity, and that I can cross a lot of things off the list that weren't necessary, and look forward to talking to Stephen and to figuring out some of this just tracking and reporting stuff. So I think it's one of those things where you start out and it's very disorienting, and then as you orient yourself, that whole process is really strengthening, and I love that kind of a process. So I'm really excited to be in here with all of you and to just get to know each of you a lot better, because that's really that's the delight of this experience, isn't it? It's just the connection. So thank you all very much. Each of you has been very helpful to me over the time of me sort of understanding how to be in Catalyst overall and eventually here. So I really appreciate that from my heart, and I'm looking forward to next stuff.
Thanks, Nadia. JP, and then Stephen.
So thanks, guys. I know it's a bit like drinking from a fire hose at the beginning. I know Catalyst was like that for me, and so this Catalyst Circle is no different. We're also learning as we go. This is my second circle on the admin team now as well. So if there's ways that we can improve or support, we want to know that as well. And just to want to reiterate our commitment to supporting you and the community and making sure that we're doing it in the most open, transparent, fair, and equitable way, which I think is really a goal of all of ours. So thanks.
Thanks, JP. Stephen, and then we'll jump to Amelia.
Yeah, I would just like to say, this may seem overwhelming, but this is a great opportunity to demonstrate that you can make a good contribution to Catalyst and Cardano, and you can shine. So I particularly like Bullish Dumpling. It's like you can define who you are here, you know, and you know there are things to do, you know. So you know and people will see what you can bring as well and appreciate what you can bring if you do it well. And it doesn't have to be to some formula or how people have done it in the past. That's what I'd like to say.
Thanks, Stephen. Amelia, and then we'll jump to Peter.
I believe that Mercy has the passion for the community. That's why she brought this to us, and we've all joined to do a great job about Cardano blockchain. So I believe that she support her and then bring on board positive things that will impact lives. So I'm also grateful for this opportunity as well. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for being here to represent Mercy. Peter, and then Dimitri.
Yes, I'll be short and sweet. It's good to be here. Good to meet all of you. I'm excited. These slides are a great way to talk to the community, address the community, speak to them. And so I think that's a really important part of what we do around here, because we're public facing. You guys get to define yourselves, like Stephen was saying, and that is the main channel by which the community kind of pulses in the town hall. So good luck, and I'm here to help where I can.
Thanks, Peter. Dimitri, and then Joey.
Yeah, so I'm quite excited to be here. And from everything that I've heard today, there is nothing that is particularly difficult in the sense that I'm seeing. It's a case of discussion and coming to a consensus as to how to solve the problem, and we will have the support of the other stakeholders. Right now, the most difficult thing I'm foreseeing is to find a suitable meeting time, because I can definitely say that this is not the time for me to concentrate so much of my brain, because half of it is asleep. So I think this is the most difficult thing, more than anything else, that I have to do the next 3 months in terms of the work, is to be at the meetings and focus at this time. If one meeting a month even happens. So in a sense, that's good. I mean, if this is the most difficult thing I have to do, well, the rest of it is going to be a breeze. So that's how I'm looking at it. Anyway, I filled out the form, so I'm looking forward to what comes next.
Thanks, Dimitri. Joey, and then Felix.
Well, I just want to say that I spent most of my career in going to corporate meetings, and as most of you who have ever been to those, you realize that there's people come there with an agenda, and the meetings can be quite challenging. And I was a little nerved up about coming to this meeting, but you know what? I've shaken off the nerves. You guys have made me feel real relaxed and welcoming, and I'm looking forward to working with everyone.
Nice. Thanks, Joey. Felix, and then Harris.
Don't want to be an asshole, but Emily, Dimitri, Joey, please have a look for another microphone. It's extremely difficult to understand you. And if you check the recordings, it's costs a lot of energy to catch up with your microphone to understand what you try to communicate. It's really difficult to understand you. And communication is key. Take it serious, and maybe just take another microphone or a simple headphone with costs $5, something like this. But yeah, besides this, welcome to CCv3. Thanks a lot for everyone taking the initiative and the responsibility moving forward. And you can count off, there are a lot of people behind the scene as well, making the Catalyst Circle happen, count on them. Best of lucks, and even with the responsibility, try to feel free enough to experiment. Be innovative, be punky, go to the edges, go in the night.
Thanks, Felix. Harris.
Yeah, definitely. Want to encourage everyone. We all have different skills. We all have different experiences. Acknowledge your strengths. Acknowledge your weaknesses, and where you need help. Please call out for help, and we can support you. And the ideas that we're learning together, and that this experience that we're gaining as a group will help the Catalyst ecosystem, can help you advance into other opportunities within Cardano. And it's part of the vision that we really want to set, so we can have people that are in jobs today have that opportunity to quit and go full time into what we're passionate about. That's kind of the ultimate vision and direction that we want to go, is we're going to create a new work life, and we do want to maintain good work-life balance. I encourage all of you, please take care of your health. And I know crypto is often a 24/7 kind of thing. Let's make sure we take the time to relax and to celebrate and to move forward. I definitely encourage the circle to be productive. In the time that we have together. Encourage each other, but let's drive to make change and make things happen. So, but really delighted to meet all of you. So happy to have another great circle here in front of us, and I can't wait to see what we do.
Amazing. Thanks, everybody. I'm super excited to work with everybody and really looking forward to what we create together. I just want to put out there, you're now fairly public figures in the community. So as we found out last time, that will also require a little bit of social media resilience. If you come under attack or feel pressured or anything like that, this is the community that has your back and will support you. So definitely help each other, support each other, reach out if you need help. And yeah, let's have fun above all else, and take that next step to changing the world. I look forward to the next 6 months with you all. So yeah, welcome aboard.